How's it going, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Yo ND. The Irish are off to a 2-0 start after their historic win yesterday in South Bend over Tennessee State Tigers 56-3. I am joined by Mike. Frank would be here, but he drove all night last night back from that historic event in South Bend, so he's probably sleeping right now. But real quick, just to review, Mike, you picked the score to be 66-6. I picked it to be 52-3, and of course it was 56-3. So again, we picked right, and we both had them as our. We picked them against the spread at 20.5. So we're good there. But just initial thoughts from the game. I know there might not be too much to take away when you're playing Tennessee State, but how did you feel about the performance yesterday?
I mean, it's hard to gather anything useful from that game, I think, other than a lot of people, everyone played, which is good. They did seem uninspired and a little listless, especially early on. But everyone's crying about the defense, and I mean, they gave up like 150 yards. Like,
And how amped are they for that game?
they're not at all.
Right. I mean, how do you get up for that game?
Yeah, they don't.
Something I thought was real cool, and you said it, they played a whole bunch of kids, obviously. Some of the players, I didn't even know the numbers. I knew the name, but not the number. But 8 TDs scored by 8 different players yesterday, I thought was pretty cool, and I can't remember a time when that happened. Any of those touchdowns stick out to you? I know some people are talking about the Hartman touchdown just because he could have cracked his neck. It looked like he landed on his head if you watch it.
Right.
Like, it was
No,
not a
no.
clean...
The Jeremiah Love's first touchdown.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
And we discussed it. That number 12 on him just looks fantastic. Ricky Waters, I mean, you got to love it. I love it. That was super cool. One thing I do want to get your thought on, and I know we talked about it during the game, and we might have kind of differing viewpoints on it, but the Devin Ford fumble, it looked like helmet to helmet to me, and I'm only saying that based on what they've called in the past. I didn't feel like it was consistent by not calling it. And then, to add insult to injury there with my feeling, the Antonio Carter hit, they do go and throw him out of the game. So, did you think the hit on Devin was helmet to helmet?
100%. I don't think it was malicious at all. But it's helmet to helmet. Like,
Yeah. But you're reading now, like, there's people online that are just like, oh, that wasn't helmet to helmet on Devin Ford. And I'm like, listen, it might not have been in some people's eyes. It's just based on what they've called and what they've trained the fan to gasp at and say, that's going to be a penalty. I just didn't see how you didn't call it on Devin Ford and then you throw Antonio Carter out of the game. Is there anything that worried you yesterday? Is there anything that you saw that you're like, man, I would like to see this be better moving forward?
they do not set the edge on defense. They do not. And that's going to be a problem for teams that have speed. That's
You
going
know
to
who's
cause
going to be
that
a
loss.
problem with, and I don't think it's going to cost him the game, is Bert Emanuel's kid that's the quarterback at Central Michigan. Did you see them at all?
No, I was watching.
He's a freak
Lord.
show. I don't
Well,
think he can throw, but get a ball in his hands. The guy's unbelievable. So yeah, I hear you there. I'll tell you one thing that kind of stuck out for me, and it wasn't a negative, is how much Jabari Payne is Darius Walker. I thought I was watching a replay from like '04.
yeah,
I mean, he looks just like Darius in everything he does.
yep. His mannerisms, his stature, number 3, he's looks like a clone of Darius, which is
So
music to
outside of
me.
Audric, who do you like the most in our backfield?
It's Jeremiah Love.
I knew you were.
Just because
So
he hits a hole and he's through it, and he's
yeah,
headed north south.
yeah. I'll tell you what, the stat line for this game is unbelievable. I realize it's a one double A school, so look, they did what they should do, and as a Notre Dame fan, we don't always do what we should do. So it's nice to see them take care of business, but it's tough to argue with 557 total yards versus 158, and Notre Dame went 336 in the air and 221 rushing. So, so far through 2 weeks, Parker's game plan, how he's calling the game and how he's spreading the love has been awesome. and I really really like it. And it seems like when Hartman goes back, there's not one guy he's choosing, but I did enjoy him throwing to the tight end a little bit.
Hmm.
Navy, it just didn't happen, so that was nice to see that. But with that said, yeah, the Irish are 2-0. I'm not going to waste too much time unless you want to going in depth on us beating on an FCS school. Kudos to the Tennessee State Tigers for coming out and showing out with their band and everything, so that was cool. But, I'm not happy with Notre Dame for scheduling it, and hopefully this is the last time we're talking about Notre Dame versus a 1AA school. One thing I did want to bring up, it's Sunday morning now. That Colorado game, Dylan Edwards, a once Notre Dame commit. Oh my God! He put on a show. He had that fumble. That was it. Other than that, they couldn't handle him at all.
No,
And
he's electric.
And he outran everyone. There's some of those plays he was just sprinting to the corner and getting it. And it's not. I realize everyone's like TCU doesn't play D. It's still a guy running a 4-4 back there. He's going to chase you down.
And it wasn't close.
It was not close. He was untouched, every time. That was crazy to see.
It was like rocket type. Get to the edge and outrun angles.
Yeah, a few of them are like that 89 pit run he had that's on the 91 Pro Set card there, where he just took the edge and no one got him. That's what a lot of Edwards runs look like. I'm sitting there thinking about if he was in the class and playing this year, do you put him at slot or do you try and put him into the offensive backfield with, the stable that's already there?
Honestly, I think they'd screw it up. I think Prime he puts his best athletes out there. That's what he's doing right now.
And he gets them a football.
And he gets them the football, yeah.
And that Hunter kid, he had an unbelievable, on both sides of the ball.
Yeah.
Had an unbelievable game. Yeah. So
he's not going to hold up.
Why? Because he's so small?
Just, how do you play that many snaps through a season and not get hurt?
Yeah, and meaningful snaps both ways, a lot of them.
They had over 60 plays from scrimmage in the first half.
Colorado did?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Well, that game was kind of a track meet. You knew it was going to be that way. TCU doesn't, like I said, they don't play a ton of D. And it was a great game, though. That was a great game to watch.
I was impressed. I was skeptical of... jury's still out. It's only one game, but Colorado appeared to be very well coached.
Well, and they went on the road. Either way you look at it, they went on the road and lost to the national runner-up last year. I realize this isn't the same TCU team, but it's still TCU. They're not losers, and they haven't been. They didn't lose. Program.
They went on the road and won.
Yeah, tough win. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I agree. One thing, and we're jumping around a little bit because we're supposed to be talking about Notre Dame's postgame, but of course with the Tennessee State game we're not. So we're going to get into our picks, and of course all three of us had the lock on Penn State at 20.5. I did put a little bit of money on Penn State at the 20.5, and I thought I was comfortably going to cover that bet. I just was so cocky about it that it wasn't even on my mind. So then I sit there and I start watching the game, and I'm like, God, West Virginia's playing well up front. Mm-hmm. They're running the football here and there, and I was like, Penn State's not covering this. And lo and behold, my boy James Franklin, what a scumbag, going for it there. But he won me money. But what filth that guy is.
Bush League move.
Bush League.
Who does that?
And Penn State fans are here trying to justify it. And it's like, can you imagine if that went the other way and someone did that to you?
No other coach does that. They kneel on it there.
I agree.
They ran 2 plays when they could have just knelt on it and ended the game. They ran 2 plays. They scored with 6 seconds left.
Yeah, I guess...
It's a quarterback draw. We weren't throwing. Kneel on it. You did this against Indiana 2 years ago, and it cost you. I think it was Devin Ford.
And
I think it was Devin Ford that scored that.
Didn't they do something weird versus Buffalo a few years ago in prime time? He called a timeout or something. They kicked him.
I think it was Georgia State. They were attempting a field goal late. Georgia State or Buffalo, one of them, and he called timeout. and put on his field goal block team. And they were up like 50 to something absurd
Yeah.
number. And it's like, yeah, he's got a little history of this.
Well, I knew James was filth beforehand, and
Mhm.
this time his filth worked out for me because they scored. And not only does it cover the 20 and a half, it covered the over-under number, which was what, 52? It was
I don't
somewhere
know.
in
I know it hit both.
and then so it begs the question: is he really this much of a scumbag, or is there money somewhere involved here? Like where he was like, "We got to get
You're,
this."
you're asking a conspiracy theorist with this. As the years go by, I'm convinced, especially now that gambling is so accepted, especially in college football. I mean, every coverage you watch, ESPN is
Got the spread.
it's got the spread. They list it. So how could it not in some I'm not saying James Franklin knew.
Yeah, right.
It's more
But it's,
likely he did. I'm not saying he did it for the spread.
he didn't. I'm just.
Man, I don't know.
I think he would have ran a different play. Hey, if he had money on it, I think he wouldn't run a draw with the kid from Central York, Bo, whatever his last name is.
Tribula or whatever, yeah.
Yeah. Who I like. I'm happy he got it, but I'm just saying, like, I would have picked a different play. But I cannot believe, I
He
cannot believe that happened.
he threw the football before that.
Yeah, but wasn't that on like a third or fourth down where he threw it?
Man, okay.
No, I hear you. I'm happy with it. You know, I had a really small bet. It was one of the free prop bets that FanDuel gave, and I needed Penn State by 28 on that, but I don't care as long as I hit the main one, which I did with them at 20 and a half. So I'm happy about that. So on to next week. Is there anything that you want to add, Mike, before we close the chapter on the Tennessee State week?
I haven't looked. I'm just interested to see what injuries. I know Devin Ford probably has a concussion. Whatever.
He got knocked out.
He can't stay healthy anyway.
He can't.
Um, we'll just see what injuries they have this week. Just so far, I mean, there's only 2 games, but there's been no injuries, and Navy's one to get away from. I mean, what's his name got hurt?
Rubio.
Yeah, Rubio.
Yeah. But he's not out for. They're talking about him coming back for Ohio State, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I was praying, real quick, I was praying Central Michigan would come through. And I don't mind Michigan State. I don't. I
Right.
do not mind Michigan State at all. I like Michigan State. But just the fact that Central Michigan's on Notre Dame's schedule and Michigan State's, a brand name, it would have been nice to take them out. But, they finally pulled away. But Central Michigan's quarterback, Burt Emanuel's kid that played for the Falcons forever, he's unbelievable. He is unbelievable. So either Michigan State's really bad, but he still made plays as the quarterback at Central Michigan versus a Power 5 club. So I thought that was interesting that they're going to be on the schedule. We're going to wrap it up. We might try and drop something, one of our stupid little videos there midweek that are shorties, and hopefully Mike shows off more of his program collection.
There'll be programs this week.
It's ridiculous.
I'll break out the NC State collection.
You what?
I'll break out the NC State collection.
Yeah, it's like 3 programs.
Yeah. But I
A
got
hurricane program.
I got one that's dry.
Yeah, there you go. That's a collector's item, dude. There it is. So the Irish are 2-0. We move on to a road trip at North Carolina State. So we're going to obviously play our best team of the year this short year. It'll be interesting to see because NC State's going to be ready for that game. I'm happy that it's at noon rather than being at night down there. So hopefully that bodes well for the Irish. So you will hear from us. Like, subscribe, drop a comment. Thank you, and go Irish.